resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant.
You're watching WION World is One. This is World of Africa. Thank you very much for joining us. This week on the show, we talk about the pain that one country in East Central Africa has been enduring for the past 3 decades and how communities there who could not see eye to eye are now rebuilding and living in harmony. Plus, why a nation in Southern Africa is fed up with a ballooning elephant population and what they're planning to do to solve that problem. Welcome to the show. We begin in Rwanda. French President Emmanuel Macron says that France and its allies could have stopped the 1994 Rwanda genocide, but lacked the will to do so. A strong declaration ahead of the African country's 30th anniversary of the slaughter that left over 1 million people dead. In 2021, during a visit to the Central African country, Macron acknowledged France's responsibility in the genocide, mainly ethnic Tutsis and the Hutus who tried to protect them. He stopped short of an apology, but Rwandan President Paul Kagame signaled that a page had been turned in France-Rwanda ties following a series of French efforts to repair ties between the two countries. So why has the French government taken so long to apologize? That seems to irk some Africans. Here is our cover story.
April 1994. These images of thousands on an exodus are splashed world over. Rwanda was bleeding. 2 ethnic groups, the Hutu and the Tutsi, were at war instigated by their leaders through the radio. The roots of this atrocity lie in the colonial era, when German and subsequently Belgian rule deepened ethnic divisions between the Tutsi minority and the Hutu majority. The genocide began on the night of April 6, 1994, when a plane carrying then Rwandan President Juvenal Habyarimana and his Burundian counterpart, both Hutus, was shot down. Hutu government soldiers and allied extremist militia went on a rampage against the Tutsi minority, whom they blamed for killing Habyarimana. As many as 10,000 people were killed daily. 70% of the Tutsi population, which was over 10% of the total Rwandan population, was wiped out. The world did react 4 years after the atrocity that claimed close to 1 million lives in less than a month.
We did not act quickly enough after the killing began. We should not have allowed the refugee camps to become safe haven for the killers. We did not immediately call these crimes by their rightful name: genocide.
30 years later, Bill Clinton's words still resonate with many new generation leaders, including the French president Emmanuel Macron. Macron made a significant admission regarding France's involvement in the 1994 Rwanda genocide, stating that France and its allies could have stopped the genocide, but lacked the will to do so.
La France assume tout et exactement cela dans les termes.
France assumes everything exactly in the terms are used on May 27, 2021. And I thank President Kagame once again for the welcome he has given my words, thus opening a new page in our relations.
But other African leaders and Rwandans did not take his apology lightly, because they still don't understand why the French government took so long to acknowledge their errors. But they chose to move on.
Our journey has been long and tough. Rwanda was completely humbled by the magnitude of our loss. And the lessons we learned are engraved in blood. But the tremendous progress of our country is plain to see, and it is a result of the choices we made together to resurrect our nation.
Rwanda has drastically transformed from that horror when the father of Marie-Jean Uwimana, an ethnic Hutu, murdered most of John Igirazena's ethnic Tutsi relatives during the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. No one expected that love and a marriage could emerge from the horror, but love did conquer hate, and today they are married with their own family. John is a survivor of the Rwandan genocide, also known as the genocide against ethnic Tutsis in 1994. John, now 48, walks with the aid of a crutch and has a visible scar on his head. John and Marie-Jean met in one of the government set-up reconciliation villages in Bugesera district, set up all over the country. The concept appears to have worked well in uniting and reconciling the East African nation after the genocide.
At first I thought to myself, won't we get married and then he kills me? I also wondered of what type of forgiveness he would give me, knowing that my people killed his people. But he had already started the journey of unity and reconciliation, which I did not know until we started sharing our testimonies as a couple, and this gave me more strength.
A candlelit vigil was held to commemorate the lives of more than 1 million Tutsi and moderate Hutus murdered during the Rwandan genocide 30 years ago. Rwandan President Paul Kagame has been resident since 2000, but effectively in control since his rebel force, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, marched into Kigali in 1994 to end the genocide. He said his country had taken great strides in the last 30 years. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Political parties in South Africa are on the campaign trail ahead of next month's parliamentary elections. The governing African National Congress is expected to face a tough challenge. Its parliamentary majority could be threatened for the first time since the party came to power in 1994. Some politicians have turned to populist rhetoric to appeal to voters. But apart from that, there's the curtain of corruption and fighting it. And the first victim was the country's parliament speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula. Our correspondent Calden Ongmu has more details.
South Africa's former National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa Nqakula has been charged with corruption and money laundering on Thursday, a day after she resigned following an inquiry into alleged graft during her time as Defence Minister. She had also resigned as a member of the parliament on Wednesday. Mapisa Nnakula has granted bail by a court in the capital Pretoria after the charges were made public. The former speaker has denied any wrongdoing. Her residence was raided by investigators last month as part of the inquiry. Lead prosecutor Becky Manyati told the Pretoria Magistrates Court that Mapisa Nnakula was being charged with 12 counts of corruption and 1 of money laundering. In an affidavit before the ruling, a lawyer from Mapisa Nnakula argued that the former speaker was not a flight risk and that she had voluntarily come to court. Mapisa Nnakula earlier this week lost a court bid to prevent authorities from arresting her. She handed herself over to police earlier on Thursday before appearing in court. Mapisa Nnakula was the defense minister from 2012 to 2021. She is accused of receiving millions of rand in cash as bribes from a former military contractor. Prosecutors have not publicly disclosed the details surrounding the allegations or evidence against her. They did not object her bail. The case will be back in court on June 4th.
Corruption and maladministration has crippled ANC-run municipalities around the country, leading to a collapse of service delivery in many cases. Mapisa Nnakula is a senior ANC member, and even though she has not admitted guilt to this alleged corruption, some fear that voters will express their displeasure at the ballot box next month. This is Calden Almo from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
There is uproar in Uganda after Uganda's constitutional court rejected a petition seeking to annul an anti-gay law that has been roundly condemned internationally as one of the toughest in the world. Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023 imposes penalty of up to life in prison for consensual same-sex relations and possible death in aggravated homosexuality cases. Here's a report from Kampala.
People in Uganda reacted with mixed views after the country's constitutional court upheld an anti-gay law that allows the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality. The court in the Ugandan capital Kampala rejected the petitioner's request to quash the law despite widespread condemnation from rights groups and others abroad.
As a Uganda, I feel well because homosexuality, it is not good. It has many disadvantages. Some people, or many of the people, the capacity of them, they are losing their lives because of homosexuality. So what the court has decided, it is good on my side and for all Ugandans.
President Yoweri Museveni signed the bill into a law last May. The law is supported by many in the East African country, where some see it as a behavior imported from abroad and not a sexual orientation. The Constitutional Court judges said Parliament had legally passed the law and does not violate the Constitution. Homosexuality was already illegal in Uganda under a colonial-era law criminalizing sexual activity against the order of nature. The punishment for that offense is life imprisonment.
We take the view that the right to dignity ought not operate in the abstract, but within the societal, political, cultural context of a society, particularly their communal culture, norms and values.
The law in question defines aggravated homosexuality as cases of homosexual relations involving a minor and other categories of vulnerable people, or when the perpetrator is infected with HIV. A suspect convicted of attempted aggravated homosexuality can be jailed for up to 14 years, and the offense of attempted homosexuality is punishable by up to 10 years.
We believe this is the front line of Africa's independence. This is the front line of preserving us as a people. So I'm happy with the ruling and the judgment that was delivered today, which vindicated us.
This is what I expected from the government and also the judicial system, because when you look at the way they are reading, they don't even know what they are even reading. They're just reading because they're using children, they're using AIDS.
Uganda was one of the earliest and hardest hit countries when AIDS emerged, and public health experts have long warned against letting the stigma or fear of punishment impede access to care. Members of the LGBTQI community were quick to cast a dark shadow on the court's decision, saying it will worsen their already desperate situation. Some lawyers for the petitioners said after the judgment they will now turn to the Supreme Court, hoping it will overturn the law. Homosexuality is criminalized in more than 30 of Africa's 54 countries. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
You're watching World of Africa on WION, World is One. Coming up after the break, Nigeria screens a movie in memory of the Chibok schoolgirls still in captivity. Stay with us.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players. Right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Welcome back to World of Africa on WION World is One. Now, as countries marked World Health Day on the 7th of April, the World Health Organization highlighted air pollution as a top danger. In Kenya, toxic fumes from dump sites and traffic are being blamed for respiratory problems. Here's a report.
At the Dandora dump site in Nairobi, people burn garbage to create space for more garbage. Though the dump site was declared full by a Kenyan court in 2001, waste from Nairobi still finds its way here. The burning of the waste releases toxic gases that are harmful to people, but it doesn't stop the city's poorest from scavenging here, on the lookout for anything of value to sell. Jane Muthoni is one of those who relies on this mountain of trash for a living, but the cost to her health is high.
We face a lot of problems here. For example, the smoke nowadays is a lot. Even breathing is a problem, and you cannot even see whoever is in front of you because of the smoke. I have nowhere to go and do not have anything else.
The World Health Organization has called air pollution a top health concern. It says indoor and outdoor pollution claim the life of an individual every 5 seconds globally. On Nairobi streets, vehicles spew out exhaust fumes that have been long known to trigger respiratory problems.
There is an initiative that is going on to move women from cooking with charcoal and firewood in Kenya to try and use cleaner fuels. Like one of the initiatives is using natural gas as a fuel. And I think if the government can invest more energies in reducing pollution, creating standards for age of vehicles, maintenance, this can really improve the lung health in cities in Kenya and in Africa.
WHO is advocating strong and bold policies around the use of clean fuel. It is calling for systems to address air pollution and a multi-sectoral response to address this issue.
Every year, on 7th of April, WHO celebrates the World Health Day. And this year's theme, My Health, My Right, seeks to create awareness on the health and well-being, especially as it touches on the priorities. And one of the priorities WHO is focusing on is air pollution. Air pollution is caused by emissions from vehicles that burn fossil fuels, also from greenhouses, as well as the garbages. These pollutants in the environment affects the respiratory system, affects the cardiovascular system, which might also lead to premature death.
But clean air is still a far way off for the people who depend on the Dandora dump site for basic survival. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
A new film in Nigeria is being screened to remember the nearly 100 schoolgirls who are still in captivity 10 years after they were seized from their school in the country's northeast. At least 276 girls were kidnapped during the April 2014 attack that stunned the world, but most have since regained their freedom. Here's a report from Lagos.
These terracotta clay heads of remaining Chibok girls greet you when you enter this museum at the heart of Lagos, few meters deep in a small screening theatre. Hosted by the SAB Foundation and the Chibok Parents Association, the film documents the creation of terracotta sculptures representing each of the 108 missing girls, serving as a tribute and a reminder of the girls' absence and the ongoing struggle of their families and community. The film is titled Statues Also Breathe and has been screened since April 4th.
It just brings home again what they went through, the trauma that they went through. I'm in tears, and I'm also hopeful for those of them who are still waiting. They hear these news, they see the reports, they will be encouraged when they see what has happened to their classmates. So we mustn't give up.
27-year-old Amina Ali, who had a baby while in captivity and later escaped in 2016, shared her experience and so did others.
They just start asking us that who is wish to convert to the Islamic or something, and at that night, even Shekhar too came and he explained us why he adopted us, and he said that they don't want to hear anything like school.
I'm so worried. I say, and even I look at them, how they are living, how they treat some people, how they kill some people without fearing God in them.
Abductions at Nigerian schools were first carried out by jihadist group Boko Haram, which seized 276 students from a girls' school in Chibok in northeastern Borno state a decade ago. Some of them never came back. But since then, criminal gangs without ideological affiliation have adopted the tactic to obtain ransom money.
Today it is Chibok. You know, those times, you know, when you are just saying, okay, bring back our girls, it was like, oh, only Chibok. Then we have Kankara, we have other, you know, places too, Kaduna and other parts of, you know, the north. And these people are just moving like, like virus, just spreading all over. So we need to do much more. So artists like me and teachers of art like me, we need to more or less focus on art as a tool of social awareness and social transformation.
The government position is that security forces should secure the release of kidnapped victims without a dime paid for ransom. Paying to free hostages has been a crime in Nigeria since 2022 and carries a jail sentence of at least 15 years. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Botswana has defended its elephant trophy hunting quota following a conservation dispute with Germany after its environment ministry floated the idea of banning the import of trophies from endangered species. In response, Botswanan President Mogwetsi Masisi offered to send 20,000 elephants to Germany as a way of emphasizing the difficulty of coexisting with the world's largest population of pachyderms. Botswana is currently home to over 130,000 elephants. Here is a report from Gaborone.
Botswana does not have any plans for culling of elephants. We have never had any plans. We don't have any plans, and we are not even in that mode of culling of elephants. That is why we have 130,000 elephants. The growth rate is 5%, which is around 7,000 elephants every year getting into the wild. But our quota is only 400. That's very small compared to what we have in the growth rate. So even if we were to take 400 elephants, it wouldn't make any dent in the population.
Thank you very much for watching this week's episode of World of Africa on WION World is One. Get in touch with us on all our social media platforms and tell us what you think about the show there. I'm Eric Njoka, and until next time, it's goodbye from me.